audience favorite right now.
Well, I mean, Yubel is certainly powerful. And speaking of Yubel, here comes Samsara D Lotus being normal summoned to the field. And special summoned alongside it is the gruesome Grave Squirmer.
That's two monsters. We're going to hit into the graveyard. Link summon into, well, directly into Moon of the Closed Heaven. We're going straight into the Fiendsmith line. We're going to link summon that into Fiendsmith Requiem. We're going to activate the effect of Fiendsmith Requiem and start off the entire semifinals here with Fiendsmith Engraver.
Marshall certainly showing a different side of the Fiendsmith Yubel deck. Again, this is an interesting time. You could experiment a little because, again, you've already got yourself locked into the World Championship. But this is also important practice because you are playing against somebody equally good enough to get into this year's World Championship.
Two Titans battling it out. We're going to Necro-equip Princess because we have the equip Requiem and we have the Engraver as the Fiend monster equipped with it.
Such an interesting set of materials that you use for that. Again, being able to send the equip spell and the Fiendsmith, basically like a 2-for-1 special.
Now, just because your opponent puts down their hand doesn't mean there's no disruption. We're meeting a disruption right now with Bestial Druisworm getting rid of that Fiendsmith Engraver.
Well, we've seen how big a Druisworm can be, but we've also seen how it's backfired as Marshall attacks it with his various Yubel cards.
Okay, we're going to activate the effect of our gruesome Grave Squirmer. That's going to summon back the Samsara D Lotus.
This was normal summon, right?
It was normal summon, just confirming.
At least the first time, but now it's being special summoned out by the gruesome Grave Squirmer's effect.
Ooh, met with a Nibiru right off the gate. Not a big field, not a big token.
Send the token here, send the token.
Token has been placed into the middle zone, I believe.
Gonna get a token here from our judge staff.
Oh, no, into the zone that is behind an extra monster zone. That buys the turn back right away. Wow. That is a very good use of both Nibiru and the Druisworm. And that also gets rid of the token because of the Druisworm. That's sent away.
That's right. So now we're going to go ahead and search out Diabellstar the Black Witch.
Now, as we mentioned, cards being placed on the table doesn't mean that's everything. There could be disruptions as well. We're going to see the Diabellstar, the Black Witch, be met with the Ghost Mourner. That's going to negate the effect. If that gets sent to the graveyard, that's going to inflict a little bit of damage to Aditya.
Both duelists swinging for the fences here with powerful moves and powerful effects. And speaking of which, we've got the Fiendsmith Engraver being discarded here. Marshall taking a little bit of a moment, allowing it to resolve. So we're going to go into the deck and search out another Fiendsmith card.
That card is going to be Fiendsmith's Tract. Tract is going to be activated immediately. And will there be a disruption here? The field, if you want to kind of break it down, analyze it, when there's monsters on the field and they're activating cards to get more cards, do you disrupt it? We are going to be disrupting it here today with Marshall. Marshall's going to throw the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring onto the track. However, because there are monsters on the field, we're going to continue our turn.
Certainly are. We've seen how an Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring sometimes backfires, but we probably would have seen the triple tactics talent by now from the Ghost Mourner. So we're just considering our options here, what to do with 2 effect monsters. We know the 2 effect monsters go with a lot of different link combinations, so let's see what Aditya decides to do next.
And then no follow-up from, of course, the Diabellstar. That could inflict a little bit of damage once it leaves the field, but the extra deck is now open for use, and that's going to link summon into Moon of the Closed Heaven. We're going to attempt to go into Fiendsmith cards once again. We're going to deal a little bit of damage thanks to the Ghost Mourner. It's going to be 2,500 damage.
Already down to 5,500, but plowing straight ahead. Aditya is going to go ahead and get rid of that and link summon into the Fiendsmith Requiem. Cheers to the background. The crowd's excited.
We're going to go Fiendsmith Requiem. Effect of the Requiem. Ash has already been used, and we're not going to see something being locked out at the moment. And Fiendsmith Engraver being summoned from the deck in attack position.
Marshall pensive there watching the field, maybe absorbing what it is that he should be fighting against. But here we go with another Engraver effect, returning the Moon of the Closed Heaven back to the extra deck and special summoning on 2nd level 6 monster to the field. And to confirm, Michael Thomas won the last match, so the cheering in the background is because we have crowned perhaps our next and last World Championship representative. But here comes Beatrice, Lady of the Eternal, removing that Fiendsmith Engraver to send a new card to the graveyard from the deck.
All right, Beatrice, such a strong monster, incredible monster. Just having access to the entire deck, throwing any spell, monster, trap card into the graveyard. And that card being sent to the graveyard is going to be original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. That's going to be banished. And we're going to put back a Diabell start into the deck. And now we're going to search ourselves a level 1 fire monster.
And our level 1 fire of choice. Oh, okay. Marshall goes ahead and continues.
Do you have anything priority in draw phase?
They're checking if there's anything. Oh, we are met with Molcharmi Perudia.
But we know that Marshall knows how to play around this, as we've seen it before. Just taking a quick look to verify.
Giving your opponent a couple of cards, it can be very dangerous because that could lead to, I guess, additional disruptions from hand. Now we're going to start off with a Terraforming.
It's like Terraforming is not going to be stopped. It's time to grab that field spell, Nightmare Throne.
No. Will there be a response on the DJ side? That's going to be no. Well, if you do respond with a draw and lock, but you're going to lock out your own card that you just threw into the graveyard, that will not be worth it. Marshall going for Nightmare Throne, one of those powerful cards in the entire Yubel deck.
Really changed how Yubel made its game plan, but looks like Adichie's considering something, but no, we're just going to let it resolve. Ooh. Oh, but the Yubel from the hand there, and a draw. So not the optimal place to summon Yubel from, and giving Adichie a draw. Not exactly a great start for Marshall there, but it's going to go ahead and shuffle the cards away to make a Phantom of Yubel.
All right, Phantom Yubel, insulating ourselves from additional monster-based disruption, changing up the effect, perhaps blowing up. Oh, that was past turn. That gesture, fanning out your hand, passing to the opponent. Adichie getting the turn back, but the Molcharmi Perudia drew one card, acting much like his Upstart Goblin.
Yeah, it is. It just kind of trades it out, but it does threaten your opponent. Hey, if you keep playing, I'm going to keep drawing, and that might have been why Marshall decided to stop there. Adichie effectively not losing any resources and a very limited field there from Marshall, but it's not as limited as you think. Remember, the Phantom of Yubel can go ahead and change that effect to destruction. And when a card is destroyed, maybe Nightmare Throne will kick into high gear. Speaking of field spells, though, let's take a look at what Divine Temple of the Snake Eye is going to set from the deck into the Spell and Trap Zone.
Both players having their field spell, of course, Nightmare Throne likely being the stronger of the two field spell, opening with the Divine Temple of Snake Eye. Not the thing that you typically want to see. Typically, you do want to search it out with the Snake Eye's Poplar.
Well, sometimes you just have to play the hands you're dealt. Speaking of which,
Different Dimension Grunt has been activated. Maybe that's all you need to gotta buy back your turn. At least that is what Marshall is going to be hoping for.
and it resolves too. So cards are not going to the graveyard if they're monsters. It's going to change things up quite a bit here.
I like where this is going. This is going to require practice, for sure. Definitely a lot of practice to try to bypass this current turn. Cards going to the banish, or getting banished entirely, is not going to be long-term resource for Snake Eye. Nor for Fiendsmith either.
Nor for Fiendsmith. Looks like we're going to go ahead and grab the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye there off the Poplar Search. Again, you mentioned practice. This is the best stage to practice on because you are playing against somebody you may very well get paired up against in the World Championship.
That's true.
All good experiences to have here.
But this is a practice with a lot on the line.
A lot on the line.
A lot on the line. We're passing back.
Huh?
Wow.
Was not expecting that.
It's just too difficult to execute combos because the Flamberge can't get anything. And now we're going to the normal summon out of Dark Beckoning Beast.
Do we stop its effect to add something from the deck to the hand mentioning
That is
one of the three sacred
successful.
beasts? Wow, okay.
Anything?
Opening of the Spirit Gates is about to appear.
Yeah.
The gates have opened.
And from outside the gates arrives a Chaos Summoning Beast.
No. Normal? Sure.
Chaos Summoning Beast gets summoned onto the field. We're going to attempt to do Fiendsmith plays here, and that is going to be met with a Phantasme. You link summon a monster, link monster got special summon. We're going to try this out, and that effect is going to be changed to destroy a Yubel monster from the deck from Phantom of Yubel.
Going to go ahead and destroy that Spirit of Yubel then, and likely bring out Yubel itself. Now that it's back in the deck, it's a little easier than summoning out from the hand. Doesn't feel quite as costly.
Anything here?
No. No response on the Yubel summon. Chaos Summoning Beast, and the Yubel going back into the deck. Oh, Yubel just making a quick little cameo and going back in.
back into her hand and glowy silhouette form.
Nice hand.
And
We are going
wow.
for the hand, and he conceded, did not want to show it.
Draw face.
And Aditya finally getting to go first in this match. And that's going to be starting off with Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils.
Grabbing the Dia Bellstar, the Black Witch.
Apparently, no, the other one, Snake Eyes Dia Bellstar.
Oh.
Now, we've seen people weave that play slightly differently by tossing into the graveyard a little bit earlier, just so that the Poplar can put it into the Spell and Trap Zone.
Well, one good Dia Bellstar begets another, and it looks like that's exactly what we're doing, as Dia Bellstar, the Black Witch, uses the Snake Eyes Dia Bellstar as a material.
Now, by doing this particular play, once you get into the Poplar, into the field spell, that usually leads into a different monster being placed in the Spell and Trap Zone instead.
I'll have to see what he pulls out there, but right now we're just setting the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. Marshall just leaned back, watching as this happens, maybe taking a page out of Aditya's book, not looking at the hand, just being quiet and watching the plays go by until he is ready to make his move. And speaking of moves, Fiendsmith Engraver will be discarded to add a Fiendsmith Spell or Trap.
That's going to be Fiendsmith Tract. Tract is immediately activated.
Track.
Tract going into the deck, fetching out a Light Fiend monster. Did you know it's every kind of Light Fiend monster, not just things related to Fiendsmith?
That's certainly why we're grabbing the Fabled Lurie here, but there's a lot of great options we've been seeing throughout the weekend.
And the Lurie has a mandatory effect to summon itself back onto the field once it lands to the graveyard by being discarded. That's going to lead into the Fiendsmith's Requiem. Requiem into the next monster.
Certainly get to skip a step. Popular option, of course, Moon in the Closed Heaven, but you don't need it if you already have a Light Fiend on the field. So it'll become Requiem, and Requiem will go ahead and offer itself to bring out the Fiendsmith Engraver.
Engraver. What is it actually engraving? It can engrave itself outside of the graveyard by jumping back out.
Well, it is carrying the coffin on its back as the Fiendsmith Requiem is equipped to it.
All right, maximizing on resource management. We're going to get the, well, that coffin, Requiem, equipped back onto our Fiendsmith and sent away for cost for the original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye. Ash has been summoned onto the field, and then Poplar added to hand and summoned also onto the field. Poplar effect. Go for Field Spell, Divine Temple of the Snake Eye. Now, since we already have the Snake Eye Dia Bellstar in the graveyard, this is going to be a different monster to be placed onto the field once that gets activated.
Careful play. Marshall hasn't jumped in just yet, so may not have any points of interaction in his hand. But Aditya is going to move things forward, combining the Fiendsmith Engraver and the Poplar. That'll make the Fiendsmith sequence.
Sequence summon onto the field. All right. Poplar is activating or not. We're going straight into the graveyard with Fiendsmith sequence.
Ah, now we've got something. There's that infinite impermanence.
So this is likely a page of memorizing every card in your hand. We're just going to flip them cards one at a time.
Marshall certainly being a stoic duelist there now. Maybe this really is Marshall's final form.
Now, this is not the end-all, be-all of the Fiendsmith line, as we do have more monsters in the graveyard that can be summoned, and we still have another fusion play available from Fiendsmith's Tract.
Definitely a lot of plays there, but Aditya will have to commit to one or the other. Again, plenty of time left on the clock, 32 minutes and 40 seconds.
And there is the Divine Temple of the Snake Eye being activated.
Verifying some information in the graveyard before we reach into the deck to place a card from the Spell and Trap Zone there.
This is actually quite interesting. The Poplar did not activate. Perhaps there's going to be a later play with that Poplar, and that's why we decide to hold back.
All right.
Certainly a lot you can do with the Snake Eye deck in various different orders there. Could be a Snake Eye Oak that maybe puts it back on the field, and maybe it's linked off and returned to the Spell and Trap Zone. But we haven't quite gotten in yet.
That is a possibility. We're going to go for the Poplar direct. All right. I think that is actually quite smart, because if the Ash can use the Poplar to send it away, at least the Poplar on the field will reactivate and try to put a different monster back into the Spell and Trap Zone.
We are going to use exactly that. Snake Eye Ash, go ahead and get rid of the Snake Eye Poplar to bring out the next chapter in the Snake Eye Saga. Looks like it is going to be straight into the Flamberge Dragon.
Flamberge has been summoned.
Poplar.
And we are going to use the effective Poplar now. We've been just saving it, for the perfect timing. It seems like now is the time.
Snake Eyes Diabellstar placed there in the spell and trap zone, likely to advance. And so it does move forward. Oh, maybe not. Aditya's still thinking about that.
Not anymore. We're going in.
There we go. Certainly being careful about his plays. Again, he definitely wants to get to the finals here, so he may have a shot at being our champion.
Poplar being put back into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell card, and Snake Eyes Diabellstar has been summoned onto the field, pushed into the main monster zone. Proceeding to Link Summon.
We've got a Link Summon of the Moon of the Closed Heaven.
We're generating additional monsters. These are looking at Light Fiends. We look like we're going into the Fiendsmith Engraver effect. We're going to be placing back. Aditya's placing back the Fiendsmith Requiem. There are 3 monsters. There is a Tract in the graveyard. Looking back into the graveyard. A Tract is now activated. Fusing for 3 material.
A lot of powerful fusion monsters throughout the tournament, and this is no exception as Fiendsmith Desiree hits the field.
Fiendsmith Desiree hitting that particular part of the field, the second monster zone, which is under an extra monster zone, but don't worry, they can't be targeted. We have the Fiendsmith sequence activating the graveyard, equipping itself onto the Desiree. Desiree, really powerful card, and now we get to the summon of Snake Eyes. Oak summons back the Ash. We have a ton of monsters to play with. The board is being developed quite fully.
Certainly open season there as we see the Snake Eye Oak and Flamberge Dragon go to the graveyard. Oh, maybe not.
Marshall deep in thought, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, trying to understand where this board is going. What are the monsters on the field? What are the disruptions? What are my opponent's interaction? You gotta pay close attention to both field and graveyard constantly, just so that you are just ready and aware to play when it comes back to your own turn.
Well, still Aditya's turn for now, and he's going to go ahead and grab out the IP Masquerena with a successful Link summon there. And because the Flamberge Dragon went to the graveyard, we might see some additional fire monsters, but it doesn't look like we're doing that. We're just going to go ahead and link off again into the Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, who is now bringing out the Flamberge Dragon, likely to use its effect once it leaves next time.
Flamberge Dragon it's now secured. It's dropped out of his hand, and that Flamberge Dragon could have more activation right here. We are thinking carefully. They are using the effect of Desiree to negate. Wow, okay, we're using the effect of Desiree to negate the effects of Promethean Princess, which turns you off of the Fire Lock. And the proceeding to Link Summon into Appaloosa. Effective Flamberge is now going to activate. Alright, that's going to summon back the Oak, summoning back the Ash. Continuing the Link Summon.
2-material Appaloosa is certainly very popular there, and it looks like it's going to be backed up by the Silhouette Rabbit.
I like this play. This is different from what we've seen so far. I was wondering if this was only going to be the Flamberge, the IP, but Aditya always showcasing something a little bit different. And
You do love illusions, so you would be excited when somebody pulls a rabbit out of their hat.
that's right. Of course, that is going to set onto the field a trap monster, a continuous trap that summons itself onto the field, and that monster is Angel Statue Azurun.
We've learned how it has that very powerful effect to stop, negate, and destroy those summons which do not start a chain, and that's a lot of what Yubel does, right? When you think about the Phantom of Yubel, that's what makes the deck so powerful, and, well, at least we've got an answer to one of those cards.
No. Aditya, one of the few duelists that's giving the card a chance.
I think a lot of duelists are at least going to give it a second look as they see it on the screen right now.
Based on the current field, the Divine Temple of the Snake Eye would be one of the few options to bring back the IP Masquerena, but we're going to see where Marshall's going to take this after reviewing the board that has been developed, the field, the monsters. We're going to special summon Pancratops.
Dino Wrestler Pancratops, a blast from the past, but still an incredible card.
And that's
You could chain it, but it might be negated.
There's just so many negates that's on the field. We've got the 2 Appaloosa negates, Desiree. We've got... Ooh, we're going to Battle Phase. Did I hear that
You
right?
heard Battle Phase. Yubel loves the battle phase, but not quite like this. Dino Wrestler Pankratops by itself, maybe choosing to battle straight the monsters ahead of it. Perhaps you may attack the Appaloosa, but again, it's going to be a little interesting to see what happens with the main phase 2 here after Dino Wrestler Pankratops chooses what it's going to attack.
Dino Wrestler Pankratops. 2,600 attack points.
Attack over Apple.
Definitely a big one.
Attacking over the Appaloosa. Oh, that's wonderful. That takes out 2 of the monster-based negation. Carefully reading the effects of Fiendsmith's Desiree. Now, Fiendsmith Desiree does have to negate the cards that are face-up on the field. This is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Not a lot of the Yubel cards activate while they're face-up on the field. Many of them destroyed while they're in the graveyard or from some other location.
I don't think Aditya expected this. If Aditya did expect this, that trap card would have flipped face-up to negate this particular summon already.
I know we've seen some crazy cards throughout the weekend, but that is my first time seeing Dino Wrestler Pankratops in the last 3 days.
We're currently still in the battle phase. We're using the effect.
Gonna go and destroy the face-down card.
That's going to get rid of the Azurun. Gonna attempt to summon it.
We'll get popped.
They're wondering if it is going to be destroyed. As the card technically is still a trap card, it doesn't change into a monster where it loses its trap, the trap card status.
Yes, it will.
Will it be destroyed? They are confirming with the judge, and
So
it is destroyed.
Yes.
It is different from those who become a monster and no longer a trap card, so there's a slight difference there. And we're going to proceed into main phase 2, going into our Fiendsmith Engraver, going into the graveyard.
They're trying to get a handle back on the duel here, picking up both sides of the deck there and grabbing that Fiendsmith tract.
This field is still quite intimidating if you look at it.
It's not over yet, that's for certain. Fiendsmith Desiree still very powerful, and IP Masquerena just staring down, ready to jump in with a Link summon.
Yeah.
Chain the effect of IP Masquerena. Light beam monsters are very dangerous, but we're linking away our Silhouette Rabbit.
Oh, into SP Little Knight.
SP Little Knight effect, attempting to banish the Fabled Lurie. Ooh!
Wow. The
That
crowd
is
cheering for that one.
the Forbidden Droplet taking away the Oh,
Getting rid of another Forbidden Droplet and a Samsara D Lotus.
2 cards, but 1 Light Fiend is incredibly powerful here.
So both are negated, so no longer anything to worry about. This is Marshall's moment to get back into the game. Going ahead and turning that Fabled Lurie into a Fiendsmith Requiem.
Be very careful. There are still 2 cards in Aditya's hand. Going to Fiendsmith Engraver. Checking the hand. Is there an interaction? Passing the priority. Getting the equip from the Requiem. We're going straight into the extract, performing a fusion style summon. This can be Necroquip Princess. The effect of Engraver, summon back onto the field with 2 6s on the field. We're going to perform.
Thought it was an Xyz summon, but looks like we're actually going to Fiendsmith Sequence.
Sequence has been summoned onto the field. Oh!
Oh, Effect Veiler.
Effect Veiler, what a counter!
Taking a look at the graveyard, there may be nothing left.
I think this might be it. No cards in hand left. Sequence is already negated. People are very patient with their hand-based disruption, negations, and this is a tough spot to be in. The Desiree still being on the field, and I believe that is going to be past turn.
Patience prevails again.
There's some very crucial moments. Like Fiendsmith Sequence, just such a crucial card to negate, and that's going to keep Marshall out of continuing the turn and requiring to pass back.
Anything in here that can activate on my turn?
There are no cards to activate on Aditya's turn. Aditya has free reign over this current turn.
No cards in hand, no cards on field, and no cards in the graveyard for relevance in this turn. So now we're seeing the Fiendsmith Engraver activate its effect and return something to special summon itself back on the field.
This is a solid year for Aditya.
Certainly is, from one NAWCQ to the next, from Raleigh to Austin.
All right, we get the summon of the Engraver. This is not over just yet. We're going to see whether or not the life ones are going to go down to 0. Are we going to have enough damage? You know, remember, we're close to the goalpost, but we can't fumble it just yet. We have to play it all the way through.
Definitely have to bring it home. Take a look through the graveyard again. This is the moment again if Aditya wants to get things done. There is no better turn than when your opponent has nothing they can do in response.
And what an interesting field that was established.
Already burned through so much magic.
I like that battle phase because it basically revealed that there was actually no evenly match, but it could have baited into like a overreaction to an evenly match or calling battle phase like that.
Well, Dynamaxillor Pankratops still technically compatible with evenly match, clearing itself off the field so that evenly could be activated, but it is not being seen here. So the duel may not be as even as Marshall wanted the match to be.
If we look at the damage so far, I'm just going to go for the attack now.
Just a little battle here.
28. I don't know numbers. 28.
Time to do just a little bit of math here.
8.
Not closing out the duel just yet.
5K.
Yeah. We have to be very careful here. It may be a top deck situation, but there could also be stuff in the graveyard that can activate back on Marshall's turn. But it's going to be very difficult to activate that card in hand because Desiree is still on field. There's an SP. There's 2 cards that can be interacted with you immediately, but there is also Engraver in the graveyard. This is where you use 100% of your brain power to figure out a line that gets you out of this. We're going to activate Fiendsmith Engraver. We're going to put back Sequence in there. We're going to summon out the Engraver, and that's going to go into battle phase.
Interesting.
Attacking over the SP Little Knight. We're getting a lot of these minor battle phases just to clear off some of the problematic monsters. And we are going to see main phase 2. And Marshall is going to continue the turn.
You're right that the battle phase's purpose has almost changed across the last couple of duels as players use their monsters to clear off spot removal with a good old-fashioned attack.
They're dancing. It's just a little back and forth dance here.
Definitely not an open and shut case, but looks like we're going to Fiendsmith Requiem with the Fiendsmith Engraver and beginning this combo once again. If it resolves, looks like it's good, so let's go ahead and special summon a new Light Fiend.
Still 2 cards in Aditya's hand. We have now reached the Engraver. Touchdown on the field from the deck from the Requiem effect.
Yes.
Attempting to equip with a Requiem. There's 2 cards on the field. That's in defense mode.
Not shifting to attack, just making sure to read through it, maybe using its effect to go ahead and even things up. Take a look at the graveyard as well, just to figure out what it is that Marshall wants to do next.
The effect to put away the Engraver, sending Engraver away, and the Requiem. Ooh. Spirit of Yubel putting away D-Lotus back into the deck. That's only 1 fusion monster that can do something like that right now, and that's going to be Phantom of Yubel.
So definitely not down or out. Phantom Yubel certainly evening things up, again, able to change an effect into, hey, destroying a Yubel monster. I can destroy Spirit of Yubel and bring out another Yubel to keep this game going, but for now, passing turn. Aditya's about to draw.
Very tight situation. What a tightrope to walk here.
Rough turn.
Although it may be just 1 disruption. Will it be enough?
Marshall hanging on by a thread there with the Phantom of Yubel, but still able to protect his monsters.
Roll standby. Good.
Draw and standby phase. Using the effect of Fiendsmith Desiree. That's going to change to destroy a Yubel monster from the deck.
No response, so let's go ahead and destroy Spirit of Yubel.
No effect? Okay.
And no effects. Not deciding to bring out the Yubel.
Normal summon out Fable Luri. Fable Luri is going to summon into Fiendsmith Requiem. Requiem gets sent into the graveyard for the tribute cost.
Got it.
One good combo against another, and Marshall
And he
offers that.
concedes!